The pirate's gauntlet closed around Suman's arm. For a moment, everything seemed frozen. Then Suman moved. Her training as an engineer included emergency response and zero-gravity combat. She twisted her body, using the pirate's own grip as leverage, and drove her forehead directly into his helmet's faceplate. The impact was solid and hard. It shouldn't have done much. The helmet was designed to withstand impacts and protect against hostile environments, but the pirates hadn't accounted for human sweat. Suman's forehead was damp with perspiration from the stress of the attack. When her skin made contact with the helmet's seal, the moisture seeped through a microscopic crack in the joint. The sweat, with its pH of 5, began to work on the alien materials of the seal. The pirate screamed and released her, staggering backward. His face inside the helmet was already showing signs of chemical burns where the seal had failed, and the corrosive sweat had reached his skin. "What is this?" the pirate shouted. "What did you do to me?" His companions raised their weapons, but Taiho was already moving. The security officer had been trained for exactly this kind of situation. He grabbed the nearest piece of furniture, a metal chair, and swung it at the second pirate's weapon arm. The impact knocked the weapon aside, but more importantly, it sent Taiho off balance. He stumbled, catching himself on the pirate's armor. His still bandaged hand, the one he had cut during the first contact incident, pressed against the pirate's chest plate. The bandage was old now, used for 6 days. It had absorbed blood and other fluids over that time. The thin fabric was saturated with human biological material. When it made contact with the pirate's armor, the effect was immediate. The armor began to smoke. The outer layer, designed to resist energy weapons and standard biological hazards, hadn't been made to withstand the acidic nature of human blood. A dark stain spread across the pirate's chest where Taiho had touched him, the material corroding and weakening. The pirate looked down in horror and tried to pull away, but Taiho held on. "You said we were fragile," Taiho growled. "You were wrong." The third pirate fired his weapon, a stunning burst meant to incapacitate. The energy blast caught Taiho in the shoulder and he went down hard. But the shot had made the pirate's position clear to Minho. The captain moved fast. His diplomatic training included self-defense, and Earth's higher gravity meant humans were stronger than they looked by galactic standards. Minho crossed the distance in 3 quick steps and tackled the third pirate from the side. They went down together, Minho's hands grasping for the weapon. The pirate tried to throw him off, but human grip strength, evolved from ancestors who climbed trees and made tools, was formidable. Minho held on. In the struggle, Minho's lips split against the inside of the pirate's helmet. Blood filled his mouth and instinct took over. He spat, a fine spray of blood and saliva hitting the pirate's face through the damaged helmet seal. The effect was instantaneous and terrible. The pirate's screaming was raw and filled with pain as the acidic fluids worked on his exposed skin. He released the weapon and tried to wipe his face, but that only spread the human biological material further. Dr. Hana wasn't trained for combat, but she was trained to save lives, and sometimes that meant ending threats. She grabbed her medical bag and pulled out a syringe filled with saline solution. To humans, saline was neutral and safe, used for everything from wound cleaning to hydration. To aliens adapted to alkaline biology, it was something else entirely. The fourth pirate was advancing on Yunho when Hana stepped between them. She held the syringe like a weapon, and when the pirate grabbed for her, she drove it through a weak point in his armor and pressed the plunger. The pirate convulsed as the neutral saline entered his system. What was balanced for human blood was acidic for his. He stumbled backward, clawing at the injection site, his body going into shock. Yunho, seeing his opportunity, swept the pirate's legs out from under him. The alien fell hard, his armor clattering against the metal floor. The whole fight had lasted less than 2 minutes. 4 pirates lay on the ground, incapacitated by injuries they hadn't seen coming. The humans stood over them, breathing hard, their bodies doing what Earth had designed them to do: survive. Taiho pushed himself up, rubbing his shoulder where he'd been stunned. "I think we made our point about being fragile." Alarms were still ringing, but now security forces were flooding into the area. They came armed and ready, but they stopped short when they saw the scene. The humans, unarmored and supposedly vulnerable, standing victorious. The pirates, heavily equipped and experienced, defeated. Dr. Quilnax rushed in behind the security forces, still wearing the protective suit. The alien doctor's large eyes took in the scene, processing what must have happened. "You fought them," Dr. Quilnack said, voice filled with amazement. Without weapons, without armor, you fought and won. Minho wiped blood from his split lip. We defended ourselves. They didn't give us much choice. Your injuries, Dr. Quilnax moved closer. Medical instincts overriding caution. You're bleeding. You're hurt. We'll be fine, Hana assured the doctor. These are minor wounds. They'll heal on their own in a few days. Security officers were carefully approaching the downed pirates, treating them like hazardous materials. One officer examined the corroded armor and damaged seals. He looked up at his commander and spoke in a language the translators struggled with, something that came across as a mix of respect and fear. Through the transparent walls, other aliens were gathering. The diplomatic dinner guests who had fled were returning, drawn by news of what happened. Esherin was among them, his purple-blue skin now pale with shock. Captain Minho became aware that every eye in the room was on them. Not with the fear from before, when they thought humans were fragile and dangerous by accident. This was different. This was the recognition of capability, of strength. Your biology, one of the security officers said carefully. Is it always weaponizable? Hana answered honestly. We don't think of it as weaponizable. It's just our biology. We bleed when we're cut. We sweat when we're stressed or hot. We produce saliva constantly. These are normal bodily functions for us. Normal, the officer repeated. Yes, normal for a species from a Class 9 death world. More security forces arrived, along with medical teams to tend to the pirates. The criminals were handled with extreme care now. Their injuries from human contact treated as serious chemical exposure. The one who had been injected with saline was loaded onto a stretcher and rushed to intensive care. Dr. Quilnax moved to treat the humans through the barrier, but Hana waved them off. We're okay, really. Tejo needs to rest from the stun, but otherwise we're just bruised and cut. Nothing that won't heal. Nothing that won't heal, Dr. Quilnax echoed. You consider these injuries minor. They are minor, Tejo confirmed. I've had worse in training exercises. The security commander approached the barrier carefully. Humans, I need to file a report on this incident. I need to understand. Did you know you could use your biological functions as weapons? Minho thought about how to answer. No, we didn't plan it. We just fought the way humans fight. Close combat, using whatever advantages we have. On Earth, every living thing uses its biology to survive. Plants have thorns, animals have claws or venom. Humans have strong grips and acidic fluids. It's all just nature. Nature, the commander said slowly. The nature of a death world. Esherin finally found his voice. The young Velcor who had called humans fragile now looked at them with something close to terror. You aren't fragile at all. You're dangerous. Fundamentally, deeply dangerous. Only when we need to be, Yunho said quietly. We came here in peace. We wanted friendship. Those pirates forced us to defend ourselves. There's a difference. Dr. Quilnax's body language showed agreement. Yes, the humans fought only to protect themselves. They used appropriate force and stopped when the threat was neutralized. That shows control, not savagery. News of the incident spread through the station rapidly. Within hours, the story had reached the Galactic Council proper. Humanity, the newcomers from the Death World, had defeated armed pirates using nothing but their natural biology and hand-to-hand combat. The galaxy's perception of humans shifted in those hours. They were no longer the fragile, dangerous oddities who needed to be carefully managed. They were survivors from the most hostile world anyone had ever encountered. Beings who carried acid in their veins and strength in their bones, who could turn their very bodies into weapons when necessary. But more than that, they were beings who chose not to unless they had to, who came in peace despite their power, who offered cooperation despite their advantages. That night, as the human crew rested under light guard that felt more like protection than imprisonment, Minho received a message from the Galactic Council. They wanted to continue negotiations, not because humans were harmless, because they were powerful, and they had chosen to be peaceful anyway. That, the Council decided, was what made humanity truly worth knowing. 5 days had passed since the quarantine began. The human crew had settled into an uncomfortable routine of tests, interviews, and waiting. Dr. Quilnax visited daily, always in the protective suit, always maintaining the barrier between them. Slowly, gradually, protocols were being developed. On the 6th day, the Galactic Council decided to hold a formal dinner. It would be conducted through barriers with each species in their own sealed environment. But it was meant as a gesture of goodwill. A way to show that despite the complications, humanity was still welcome to pursue membership. The dining chamber was impressive. Multiple transparent compartments arranged in a circle, each containing different atmospheric conditions and furniture suited to various species. The humans occupied one section, with earth normal air and simple chairs around a metal table. Through the clear walls, they could see dozens of alien dignitaries in their own spaces. Yunho had briefed the crew extensively. This is our chance to show them we can coexist peacefully. Be respectful, be calm, don't do anything that might seem aggressive. The meal itself was strange. Each species ate their own food, but servers passed through a central corridor delivering dishes through airlocks. The humans had been provided with synthesized Earth-style food, though Taeho complained it tasted like cardboard. It's not about the food, Yunho reminded him quietly. It's about diplomacy. Through the barrier to their left, a group of tall, thin aliens with crystalline skin picked at glowing fungi. To their right, something that looked like a floating collection of tentacles absorbed nutrients from a mist. Across the circle, energy beings flickered and pulsed in patterns that might have been eating or might have been conversation. For the first hour, everything went well. Various dignitaries gave speeches about cooperation and understanding. Translators worked overtime, converting hundreds of languages into forms everyone could understand. Minho began to relax, thinking maybe this would work out after all. Then Esherin spoke. The young alien was from a species called the Velcor, tall and elegant with skin that shifted through purple and blue shades. The Velcor were one of the older council races, proud of their history and status. Esherin stood in his compartment and addressed the gathering. I mean, no offense to our human guests, Esherin said, though his tone suggested otherwise. But we must ask the serious questions. Can beings from such a hostile world truly integrate into civilized society? Their biology is dangerous. Their planet is a nightmare. They are too fragile and too hazardous to exist among us safely. Murmurs spread through the other compartments. Some aliens seemed to agree with Esherin. Others looked uncomfortable with his directness. Taiho's jaw tightened. Minho put a hand on his shoulder, urging patience, but Esherin wasn't finished. Look at them. They require such specific conditions to survive. They need their toxic oxygen, their narrow temperature range, their acidic water. They cannot adapt to normal environments, and we cannot adapt to theirs without risking chemical burns from simply touching them. That's enough, Yunho said firmly, though his voice remained diplomatic. We acknowledge the challenges, but humanity has proven capable of adapting to many situations. Have you? Esherin challenged. You haven't even left your own solar system until recently. You've never had to truly adapt to anything beyond your death world. You are survivors, yes, but survivors of one specific hell. That doesn't make you suitable for the galaxy at large. Taiho stood up abruptly. Minho tried to grab his arm, but the security officer pulled away. You want to talk about fragile? Taiho said, his voice hard. Let me show you something. He walked to the compartment's food synthesizer and requested a glass of water. The machine produced it, pure H2O at room temperature. Taiho held it up so everyone could see. This is water, he said. Simple, basic water. On Earth, we drink this every day. We swim in it. We wash with it. It falls from our sky in such quantities that it forms rivers and oceans covering most of our planet. Through the barriers, Minho could see aliens reacting with discomfort. Water in its pure form was considered a powerful solvent by galactic standards, used in industrial processes but carefully controlled. Taiho drank the entire glass in one long swallow. Gasps echoed through the dining chamber. Several aliens turned away as if they couldn't watch. We consume this regularly, Taiho continued, because our bodies are designed to handle it. You want to know about adaptation? Here's adaptation. He requested a piece of fruit from the synthesizer, a reconstructed orange. He peeled it with his bare hands, the citrus scent filling their compartment. Then he ate it deliberately, showing the aliens what he was doing. This fruit has citric acid in it, Taiho explained between bites. pH around 3. We eat things like this because we enjoy the taste. Our mouths and stomachs process it without any problem. More gasps. What Taiho was describing sounded like chemical torture to many of the watching species. And this? Taiho said, pulling off his jacket. His shirt underneath was damp with sweat from the stress of the situation. This is sweat. We excrete it through our skin to cool down. Our bodies produce it automatically when we exercise or when we're stressed. We don't need special equipment or medical intervention. We just sweat. He was making his point, but Minho could see this wasn't helping diplomatically. Taiho, please sit down. No, Taiho said, his frustration boiling over. I'm tired of being called fragile. We survived our world because we're not fragile. We're strong, we're adaptable, we're resilient. Just because we're different doesn't mean we're weak. Esheron's color shifted to an angry red. Strength born of barbarism is not strength worth having. You are products of a savage world, and it shows in everything you are. Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the dining chamber. A voice spoke urgently through the station's communication system. Security alert, unauthorized vessels approaching. All diplomatic personnel, move to secure locations immediately. This is not a drill. The formal dinner dissolved into chaos. Aliens scrambled toward exits. Servers abandoned their posts and guards in protective armor rushed through corridors. Through the transparent walls, Minho could see explosions in the distance, flashes of light that shouldn't be there. Pirates! Someone shouted. The station is under attack. Dr. Quilnax's voice came through their compartment's communication system. Humans, stay where you are. Your section is sealed and should be safe. Security forces are responding. But the pirates had other plans. A group of them, wearing heavy armor and carrying weapons, breached through a corridor near the dining area. They were heading toward the diplomatic chambers, probably looking for valuable hostages or negotiating leverage, and their path went straight through the quarantine section, where the humans were located. The first pirate smashed through the compartment door with a plasma cutter, the metal melting away like butter. 3 more followed, their weapons raised. They wore full environmental suits, probably because they were prepared to operate in any atmosphere. The lead pirate looked at the humans and laughed. Well, Earth creatures. I've heard about you. Fragile little things from a death world. You'll make excellent bargaining chips. The pirate reached for Suman, metal gauntlets extending toward her. He had no idea what he had just done. None of them did, because humans from a death world, humans who survived on a planet that the galaxy considered a nightmare, humans whose very blood was classified as a chemical hazard, were not prey. They were predators who just hadn't realized it yet. Suman's fingers flew across her datapad, accessing the galactic database that the Council had provided when humanity first announced their presence. The database was enormous, containing information on thousands of worlds and hundreds of species. Finding Earth's entry should have been simple, it wasn't. This doesn't make sense, Suman muttered, scrolling through directory after directory. Earth should be right here under Sol system, but there's nothing. Just empty space in the catalog. Yunho, who had joined them after the initial quarantine, looked over her shoulder. As the diplomatic officer, he had studied the database extensively during their journey. Try searching by coordinates instead of name. Suman adjusted her search parameters, inputting Earth's exact location in the galaxy. The screen flickered and suddenly a file appeared. But it wasn't in the main database. It was buried deep in an archive section labeled Hazardous World Survey Historical Records. Found it, Suman said, though her voice carried no triumph. But you're not going to like where it was filed. She projected the file onto the larger screen so everyone could see. The document was old, dated nearly 400 years before humanity had even developed radio technology. It had been compiled by an automated survey drone, one of thousands sent out by the Galactic Council to map and catalog worlds. The title of the report made everyone in the chamber go quiet. Sol 3, unnamed, Class 9. Hazardous Death World, approach not recommended. Death World, Taiho said. They classified Earth as a death world? Suman scrolled down, reading through the report's findings. With each line, the picture became clearer and more disturbing. What the humans considered normal about their home was, by galactic standards, nightmarish. Atmospheric composition, Suman read aloud, 21% free oxygen. The survey drone flagged this as extremely dangerous. Apparently, most inhabited worlds have less than 2% free oxygen. Some have none at all. Dr. Hana looked thoughtful. Oxygen is highly reactive. It's what we use to burn fuel in our cells. But I suppose to species that don't use it, it would be like living in a sea of acid. That's not all, Suman continued. The report says Earth's atmosphere is classified as a fire hazard. With that much oxygen, combustion reactions are highly probable. The drone recorded evidence of wildfires and noted that the planet's vegetation has apparently adapted to regular burning cycles. Minho remembered his training on fire safety aboard spaceships. They kept oxygen levels carefully controlled because too much made everything dangerously flammable. Earth's air was more than 10 times that safe level. What else does it say? Yunho asked, though he looked like he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Suman kept reading. Extreme temperature variations. The surface temperature ranges from -50 degrees to +50 degrees Celsius, depending on location and season. The report says such variations would be fatal to most known biological systems. But that's just weather, Tejo protested. That's normal. For us, Hana said quietly. Apparently not for anyone else. The report continued with a list of Earth's hostile features. The planet experienced regular violent storms with winds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour. It had active tectonic plates that caused earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Its oceans were full of salt at concentrations that would be toxic to most galactic life. And the report particularly emphasized the presence of aggressive microbial life that could survive in extreme conditions. From boiling water to frozen ice. There's a section here about biological hazards, Suman said, scrolling to a new page. The drone detected extremely active biochemistry. Life forms on Sol 3 apparently engage in constant chemical warfare with each other. Plants produce toxins to avoid being eaten. Animals produce venoms to hunt. Microbes compete using antibiotics. The report says the level of biological aggression is unprecedented. Yunho leaned back, processing this information. So by galactic standards, everything on Earth is trying to kill everything else. That would explain why we evolved strong immune systems, Hana said. And why our body chemistry is so aggressive. We had to be, to survive. Dr. Quilnax had been listening through the barrier, studying the report on its own screen. This explains much, the alien doctor said. Your planet forced life to develop extreme adaptations. Your acid-based biochemistry, your resistance to temperature changes, your ability to process toxic oxygen. These aren't unusual traits for your world. They're survival requirements. Minho looked at the report again, seeing his home through alien eyes for the first time. Earth was beautiful to him. The blue oceans and green continents, the white clouds and golden deserts. But the Galactic Survey saw a nightmare world where everything was hostile and dangerous. The report concludes that complex life is unlikely to evolve on Sol 3, Suman read. And even if it did, it would be too specialized to survive anywhere else. The surveying organization recommended that the planet be marked as unsuitable for colonization or contact. That's why no one came, Minho said, understanding finally clicking into place. It wasn't because we were primitive or uninteresting. It was because they thought Earth was too dangerous to approach. Yunho was already thinking about the diplomatic implications. When we started broadcasting radio signals, when we reached out looking for other intelligent life, the galaxy must have been shocked. Life wasn't supposed to develop on a world like ours. And when we finally developed space travel and showed up at their doorstep, Suman added, we were the last thing they expected. Not peaceful neighbors from a garden world, but survivors from a toxic nightmare. Dr. Quilnax moved closer to the barrier. I need to ask, do humans recognize that your world is unusual? Did you know other planets might be different? Hana considered the question carefully. We theorized that other worlds might have different conditions, but we assumed life would adapt to those conditions the same way we adapted to ours. We thought everyone would have some version of what we have. Blood, immune systems, resistance to environmental stress. But you have these things in extreme forms, Dr. Quilnax said. Your adaptations aren't just effective, they're aggressive. Your blood isn't just circulatory fluid. It's acidic enough to be corrosive. Your immune system doesn't just fight disease, it wages chemical warfare. Your metabolism doesn't just process energy. It burns fuel at high temperatures with dangerous oxygen. Taiho laughed, though there was no humor in it. So basically, we're walking chemical plants. Everything about us is turned up to maximum because Earth required it. Yes, Dr. Quilnax confirmed. From a galactic perspective, humans are perhaps the most over-engineered species ever encountered. You have capabilities far beyond what most life forms need. Because your world gave you no choice. Suman found another section of the report. There's a note here at the end. It says that if sapient life somehow evolved on Sol 3, despite the hostile conditions, they should be approached with extreme caution, because any species tough enough to survive there would be, and I quote, fundamentally dangerous to standard galactic biology. The chamber was quiet for a long moment. Everyone was processing what they had learned. Earth wasn't just their home. It was a forge that had shaped humanity into something the galaxy had never seen before. Minho thought about all the struggles in human history. The wars, the famines, the diseases, the natural disasters. Humanity had faced all of it and survived. Not because they were lucky, but because Earth had made them strong enough to endure. "We didn't know," Minho said finally. "We just thought we were normal." "In a way you are," Dr. Quillnax said kindly. "You're normal for Earth. It's Earth that's abnormal for the galaxy." Yunho stood up and walked to the barrier. "Dr. Quillnax, what happens now? Now that the galaxy knows we exist and that we're, what did the report say, fundamentally dangerous?" The alien doctor's body language suggested concern. "That is a question for the Galactic Council to decide. I am just a physician. But I will say this. The galaxy has never encountered a species like humanity before. How we respond to your presence will define the relationship between Earth and the stars for generations to come." Minho looked at his crew. They had come to the council seeking friendship and cooperation. Instead, they had discovered that humanity was the monster under the bed that the galaxy had always feared. The question was whether fear would lead to acceptance or rejection. 3 hours had passed since the incident, and the human crew remained sealed in the quarantine chamber. They had been moved to a different section, one with metal floors instead of the living organic material. Minho supposed that was progress. At least the aliens weren't afraid their station would melt beneath them anymore. The chamber they now occupied was split by a thick, transparent barrier. On one side sat the humans. On the other, a collection of alien medical equipment hummed and beeped, operated by figures in heavy protective suits. The suits were bulky and sealed completely, making the aliens inside look like they were preparing for a spacewalk into a star. Dr. Hana watched the preparations with professional interest, though her expression showed frustration. "This is excessive," she muttered. "We're not radioactive. We're not carrying a plague. We're just people. People whose blood eats through their floor." Tejo added, flexing his bandaged hand. The cut had already stopped bleeding, as minor cuts did. To him, it was nothing. To the aliens, apparently, it was a catastrophic biological incident. A new figure entered the alien side of the chamber. This one was different from Veltar. It had 6 limbs and moved with a swimming motion even though there was no water. Its skin was smooth and amphibious, colored in patterns of green and blue. Large dark eyes studied the humans from behind the helmet of its protective suit. "I am Dr. Quillnax," the alien said through the translator. Its voice was soft, almost musical. "I am the head physician for this sector of the Galactic Council. I apologize for the dramatic response to your arrival." Minho stood and approached the barrier. "Dr. Quillnax, we need to understand what happened. We didn't mean to cause any damage. We didn't know." "I believe you," Dr. Quillnax said, its large eyes blinking slowly. "That is what concerns me most. You genuinely did not know your biological fluids were dangerous." Dr. Hana joined Minho at the barrier. As Earth's chief medical officer, this was her area of expertise. "Dr. Quillnax, I need to clarify something. Human blood is not dangerous to humans. It's a normal, natural bodily fluid. All humans have it. All Earth animals have some version of it." Dr. Quillnax's eyes widened even further. "All of you? Every member of your species carries this caustic substance inside your bodies? At all times?" "Yes," Hana said simply. "How else would we live?" The alien doctor made a gesture that the translator interpreted as distress. "I need to conduct tests. Would you be willing to provide samples? Blood, saliva, other fluids? I promise the collection will be as painless as possible." Hana nodded. "Of course. Cooperation is why we're here." Over the next hour, Dr. Quillnax guided them through various sample collections, all done through a sealed port in the barrier. The alien doctor's assistants handled each vial like it contained nuclear waste, placing them in triple-sealed containers before running them through analysis machines. Minho watched the readouts appear on screens, even though he couldn't understand the alien measurements, but he could see Dr. Quillnax's body language, the way the alien's 6 limbs trembled slightly as each result came back. Finally, Dr. Quillnax looked up from the equipment. The alien was quiet for a long moment before speaking. "Dr. Hana," the alien said slowly, "I need to ask you a question. Why is your blood caustic?" Hana blinked in surprise. "Caustic?" It's not caustic. It's just blood. Everyone's blood is like this, isn't it? No, Dr. Quillnax said firmly. No, it absolutely is not. The alien doctor pulled up a display screen that the humans could see through the barrier. It showed various colored bars and numbers that meant nothing to Minho. But Hana leaned forward, her medical training helping her parse the information. This is a pH scale, Dr. Quillnax explained. It measures how acidic or basic a substance is. In the center is neutral. Below is acidic, which means the substance can break down and dissolve other materials. Above is basic or alkaline. The display showed a line with markings. Dr. Quillnax pointed to the upper section. This is where most galactic species fall. Blood pH between 8 and 9. Basic, safe, stable. Then the alien pointed to a mark much lower on the scale. This is human blood. pH 7.4. You exist in what we consider the acidic range. Hana frowned. But 7.4 is almost neutral. It's barely acidic at all by Earth standards. Earth standards, Dr. Quillnax repeated. Yes, we need to discuss that. Dr. Hana, your stomach produces a substance for digestion. According to your samples, it measures pH 2. That's normal, Hana said. That's what stomach acid is supposed to be. Normal? Dr. Quillnax's voice rose slightly. Normal? Dr. Hana, that substance could dissolve most biological materials in the known galaxy. We classify anything below pH 5 as a chemical weapon. And you're telling me your body produces pH 2 naturally? Regularly? Constantly? The humans looked at each other. Suman spoke up from where she sat. Are you saying that other species don't have stomach acid? We have digestive fluids, Dr. Quillnax said, but they are enzymatic, not acidic. They break down food through biological processes, not chemical burning. Your method of digestion is more similar to industrial refinement than biological processing. Taiho whistled quietly. No wonder the floor melted. Dr. Quillnax pulled up more data. It's not just blood and stomach fluids. Your saliva measures pH 6.7. Your sweat, which you apparently excrete through your skin as a cooling mechanism, ranges from pH 4.5 to 7. Even your tears are more acidic than most species' blood. But that's just how we are, Hana protested. We evolved this way. Our bodies maintain these pH levels naturally. We don't even think about it. I understand, Dr. Quillnax said gently, and that is the truly remarkable part. You don't need special protection or containment. You simply exist with these substances flowing through your bodies. From our perspective, every human is carrying industrial chemicals inside them at all times. Minho felt a strange mix of emotions. Pride, confusion, and worry all competed in his mind. Dr. Quillnax, are you saying we're dangerous to be around? The alien doctor was quiet for a moment, considering. Not intentionally. But yes, your body chemistry is incompatible with most galactic biology. Direct contact with your fluids would cause chemical burns to most species. Your sweat alone would be harmful to anyone touching you. This is why no one contacted Earth before, Hana said suddenly, realization dawning. You knew we were there. You knew we were intelligent. But you were afraid to approach. Dr. Quillnax's body language suggested agreement. Your planet was surveyed by automated probes long ago. The reports classified Earth as dangerously hostile. We assumed no complex life could survive there, let alone achieve sapience. But we did, Minho said quietly. But you did, Dr. Quillnax confirmed, which raises so many questions. How did life evolve in such conditions? How do you survive what we would consider toxic environments? What made your world so different? Suman pulled out her datapad and started searching through files. Maybe I can find some answers in the Galactic database. If they have information about Earth's classification, Dr. Quillnax nodded. That would be helpful. In the meantime, I need to develop protocols for safe human interaction with galactic society. We cannot keep you quarantined forever, but we also cannot risk accidental harm. We understand, Minho said. We want to work with you, not against you. I believe you, Dr. Quillnax said, and the alien's tone was warm despite the circumstances. Your people traveled across space to meet us in peace. That counts for much. We simply need to bridge the gap between our very different biologies. Hana stepped closer to the barrier. Dr. Quillnax, I'd like to work with you on those protocols. As medical professionals, we speak the same language even if our patients are different. I would be honored, Dr. Quillnax replied. Perhaps together we can find a way forward. A way for humanity to join the galactic community safely. Minho looked at his crew. They had come to the stars expecting wonder and discovery. They had found that, but not in the way they expected. Humanity wasn't the weak newcomers asking to join the big leagues. They were apparently the dangerous ones. The chemical hazards walking on two legs. The question now was whether the galaxy would accept them anyway. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Harmony's edge, watching the massive space station grow larger on the view screen. His heart pounded with excitement and nervousness. This was it. Humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council. Everything had to go perfectly. "Station approaching, Captain," said Suman from her engineering console. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls, making small adjustments to their approach vector. "They're sending docking coordinates now." Minho nodded and straightened his uniform. Behind him, Dr. Hana checked her medical supplies one more time. She had prepared for every possible scenario, from allergic reactions to unknown diseases. Taiho, the security officer, stood near the door, his posture relaxed but alert. He wore his dress uniform instead of tactical gear, as this was supposed to be a peaceful diplomatic mission. "Remember, everyone," Minho said quietly, "we represent all of Earth today. Let's show them that humanity deserves a place among the stars." The ship shuddered slightly as the docking clamps engaged. Through the view screen, Minho could see alien figures moving on the other side of the airlock. His stomach twisted with anticipation. In all his years of training, nothing had prepared him for this moment. The airlock doors opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. The air that flowed in smelled different, sweet and metallic at the same time. Minho took a deep breath and stepped forward, his crew following close behind. The welcoming chamber was enormous, with high ceilings that seemed to stretch forever upward. The walls were covered in something that looked like coral, but it pulsed with soft blue light. Strange plants grew from the floor, their leaves opening and closing like mouths. Minho tried not to stare. Standing in the center of the chamber was their host. Velthar was unlike anything Minho had ever imagined. The alien's body was made of what looked like clear crystal, with light flowing through it in rainbow patterns. Multiple arms extended from its torso, each ending in delicate multi-jointed fingers. It had no face as humans understood it, but symbols flowed across its surface like living text. "Welcome, humans." Velthar's voice came from everywhere and nowhere, translated into Korean by devices the aliens had provided earlier. "We are honored to host Earth's first delegation." Minho bowed slightly as they had practiced. "The honor is ours. Humanity thanks the Galactic Council for this opportunity." Velthar gestured with several arms toward a raised platform. "Please come forward. We have prepared a ceremony of greeting." As the human crew walked across the chamber, Minho noticed other aliens watching from balconies above. Some looked like floating jellyfish made of mist. Others resembled plants with eyes. A few were just spheres of light that hummed and flickered. The diversity was overwhelming. The platform was decorated with intricate metalwork, beautiful spirals and patterns welded together. As Taiho stepped up, his boot caught on one of the decorative pieces. He stumbled slightly, reaching out to steady himself. His hand caught the edge of a metal fixture. The decorative spiral was sharper than it looked. "Ah!" Taiho pulled his hand back instinctively. A thin line of red appeared across his palm. Everything happened very fast after that. Velthar made a sound like shattering glass, the crystalline being jerked backward so quickly it almost fell. Around the chamber, aliens began making sounds of alarm. The floating jellyfish creatures shot upward toward the ceiling. The plant-like beings shriveled, their leaves closed. A single drop of blood fell from Taiho's hand onto the living floor. Where it landed, the organic material began to smoke. The floor bubbled and hissed like water on a hot pan. A small hole appeared, edges curling black and dead. The smoke that rose from it smelled acrid and wrong. "Contamination," someone screamed in a language the translators struggled with. "Biological hazard. Seal the chamber!" Alarms began wailing. Red lights flashed from the walls. Heavy doors slammed down over the exits with booms that shook the floor. Minho spun around, trying to understand what was happening. Through transparent walls, he could see aliens running. They were evacuating the entire section. Some were pulling on bulky suits that covered their entire bodies. Others were fleeing through corridors, moving faster than he thought possible. "What's going on?" Hana asked, her voice tight with worry. She had already pulled medical supplies from her bag, moving toward Taiho. "It's just a small cut. Nothing serious. Stay back!" Velthar's voice boomed through the chamber. The crystalline being had retreated to the far wall, its body pulsing with agitated orange light. Do not approach the contaminated area. Medical emergency teams are being notified. Teho looked down at his bleeding hand, confused. I don't understand. It's just blood. Minho felt cold fear settling in his stomach. This wasn't right. They had done something terribly wrong, but he didn't know what. Velthar, please, we need to understand what's happening. We meant no harm. The alien didn't respond immediately. More doors were slamming shut around them. Minho realized with growing dread that they were being sealed in, quarantined. Finally, Velthar spoke again, its voice shaking. Your crew member is injured. The biological fluid escaping from its body is destroying our station's living systems. How is this possible? How are you not wearing containment suits? Containment suits? Hana stepped forward, her medical training overriding her fear. For a minor cut? That's not necessary. Human blood is not dangerous. Not dangerous? Velthar's body flashed bright red. Look at the floor. Your biological fluids are caustic. They're dissolving organic matter on contact. The humans looked at the smoking hole in the floor. It had stopped growing, but the damage was clear. The edges were black and dead, and the smell was getting worse. Minho's mind raced. This made no sense. Blood wasn't supposed to do that. It was just blood. Everyone bled. Every living thing he knew of had some kind of circulatory fluid. There must be a mistake, he said slowly. Velthar, I promise you, human blood is normal. It's not a weapon. It's not dangerous. This is what everyone's blood does, isn't it? The long silence that followed was more frightening than the alarms. No, Velthar finally said very quietly. No, Captain Minho, everyone's blood is not like that. No one's blood does what yours just did. Not anywhere in the known galaxy. Through the transparent walls, Minho could see aliens in full protective suits gathering outside. They carried equipment he didn't recognize, probably sensors and containment tools. Some were pointing at the humans and talking rapidly. Hana had bandaged Taiho's hand with practiced efficiency, containing the cut, but the damage was done. Their first contact with alien civilization had turned into a quarantine situation. I think, Suman said quietly from behind him, we might have a problem. Minho couldn't disagree. Humanity had finally reached the stars and met other intelligent life. And somehow, impossibly, they had become the dangerous ones. He just wished he understood why.